So this is our treatment presentation called Bingo.
So this is going to be our media research analysis and how we've collected it all to help us decide how we want to lay out the film.
Alright, so in this section, that's meant to be covered. In this section we use feedback generated from the audience to basically change the film opening to how we want it to look in order to basically gather basically a larger approval rating, because if we plan to make a full film about this, so we're featuring death through killing of a victim, blood as they are killed, and suspense with a lot of attention to being killed.
As we were looking through what people would like to see, many said gore, and this will definitely be incorporated. And killing, death, which is what the whole plot's all about, and a good villain atmosphere. I think we have, our villain is quite unusual to a usual horror film, especially the way they pick the victim, which we'll get onto later. But yeah.
Wait, it's gone wrong.
Number 5.
So we also asked our research what they'd not like to see in a horror film, and then if you ignore the silly responses, there's a lot say romance and a love story, which I think nowadays a lot of plots are, and this will definitely not be incorporated in ours. But yeah, some say blood and killing, and that will be incorporated, so it won't be for everyone in our research.
In our research, we looked at age, and it's important for choosing everything in the film, what the audience understands and what they will relate to, what will be most effective and affect them the most, and how it will affect the scene. If it's more teenagers, you might be able to have more things they could relate to. Also, to help us with the plot, we decided to give away the gender, as 37% of people that we asked wanted character information. We will leave it on a cliffhanger because there was a high demand of 32% of people wanting a cliffhanger. There will be shock factors in it, as 23% of people want to see that. There won't be too much information shared in the film, as people wasn't very popular for people to know loads of information within the beginning.
So we've looked at what people's favourite genres was, and this helped us to pick how we're going to film it. We decided to pick horror, even though it wasn't the most popular, as it's kind of a niche market, and we'll have a smaller fan base, and those people will be more dedicated. So we won't have a large viewership, but of streams and revenue, but we know that the audience prefers it. We also know the audience prefers having the main character in the intro, so we're going to show small bits and clips of them, not to give it away completely, but build suspense without ruining it. So we did research on what was the most popular platform to watch on, and a lot of people said Netflix, and this would make it easier for our target audience to find it. So if we were to be fully producing this, this is where we would put it
We also decided to focus on intensity. It was the third choice in our research. To do this, we'd use like montage clips and graphic images to like build up suspense and tension. Our previous like victims will be filmed will be Arnie, Patch, Dan, Joe, Finn and Jasper.
For sound and music, the sounds that we've decided that we'll use will most likely make on GarageBand for maybe screeching kind of noises, but a lot of it will be in the film, like natural music. And I think we'll have a recurring theme of a bingo, I'm not sure what the bingo machine being rolled. So yeah, and we may attempt to make some music on GarageBand. However, we have many copyright-free music that we've found.
Right, so for lighting, we're going to try and film at night. We thought a good location to be the graveyard by the chapel. It gives us kind of a spooky element to our film with dead people being there. And then for closer up shots, we can use the Tithe Barn. It's very dark in there, which means we can have a lot more control of the lighting environment to give us exactly the kind of effect that we're aiming for in our horror film.
To explain the title, so it's going to be a killer who rolls the bingo machine and then a ball will come out with the potential victims' faces on them. Me and Lily are both going to be the murderer, as it's a female and it contradicts like the regular stereotypes. The reason we're both doing it is because we're not going to show full shots, meaning we both get involved and have a role in what we're doing. We're also going to use a pin board to create strings tied to each person, and we're going to try use a lot of black and white and then have the string red to emphasise the colour. We're going to then cross out pictures of the previous victims in their eyes with like a red pen, and we're going to use a lot of montage clips to represent like the chaos and the time length of how the murdering has been planned. The last victim is going to be in the woods, who's going to be Ollie, and obviously he's a boy, so it's going to be again contradicting the stereo role types. And the reason we're doing it in the woods is we can do a more detailed scene other than the montage clips, and to create this feeling of trapped enclosement, as you kind of don't have that light able to get in, and we're going to have to use a lot of artificial or dark lighting. We're not really going to do much dialogue for more of a dramatic effect, except from the word bingo, which is also kind of done in 7 right at the end, and to emphasise the idea of when the murderer kills someone, like it's almost kind of winning bingo. For our tone, mood and atmosphere, the tone of the opening scene we're looking to create is to be suspenseful, mysterious and frightening, to engage the audience. We also want to create the feeling that there is no escape from the murderer. We have picked a colour palette which consists of like reddy orange colours, black, grey and a lot of dark colours. Green will also be included as we'll be in the woods surrounded by trees. The reason we're using this colour palette is due to the connotations associated with those colours, such as murder, death and blood, as they're all associated with red.
The film is going to be a 15 rating, so it'll be aimed at anyone above the age of 15. Also, our viewers are most likely to be between 15 and 25. However, all ranges above 15 are suitable to watch the film.
So we got some influences from other films and projects. Our biggest one being 7, as we like the montage and kind of like, if you saw on our first slide, this Bingo is quite similar to 7. And we also like to form a media project that we looked at, which is also montage and similar kind of feel that we're going to go for, but with also a decent plot to go with it. So this is just a bit of a mood board of things we like to do. So we'd like to get in a graveyard, the kind of office where the murderer will be plotting its victims and crossing out. Pinboard, which, you know, has all the things that we talked about earlier. And we thought maybe an old TV to see some actual footage of the killings, like a bit more kind of real looking, that has been plugged in. And also with the art water tank upstairs at the water container, we thought we'd get in a scene of one of the victims with its kind of like mouth open dead, like blood all streaming up. So we think that would be quite a effective shot.
Alright, so these are the props we're going to use. So for the actual murder victim, we can use obviously the water tank that Ollie's mentioned. We'll have a fake knife or a prop knife that will be the actual weapon. We can also do, for the shot of the actual murder victim in the tank, we can have fake like cuts and blood on them, to give it, you know, an impression of realism and how brutal this, you know, this murder is. The pinball will be used to display previous victims of the killer, and then the bingo machine will be used, of course, to select the next unlucky person.
Any questions?
You talked about the potential music that you might use. What advantages would composing your own music or soundscape on GarageBand have over choosing like a pre-existing piece of music that's copyright free?
I think because on GarageBand you can kind of add your own sounds, so we might try kind of record the sound of something that's happening in the scene and try put that in the music, kind of to emphasise what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think also that we can make it exactly how we want, and it's specific to our needs.
Yep.
So yeah, we can really get the feel that we're looking for.